Drew. Freaking me out right now. Drew, God, Drew, you can stop now. I don't know what he's talking about. Let's begin. So Greg Jaws and Craig Federighi were recently in an interview with the Wall Street Journal, and that's why it's kind of blowing up in the news lately, because Jaws in this interview gave a very long political answer, but what made all the headlines is him saying, we'll have to comply. We don't have a choice when it comes to bringing USB-C to the iPhone. But I specifically wanted to address his comments because it says a lot about what Apple's long-term vision was for the iPhone. Plus, we should also take a step back from all of this excitement before we all say USB-C confirmed for iPhone 15. At this point, yes, it's looking incredibly likely. I think it's the most probable scenario to unfold. Mark Gurman says it's practically locked in, but what makes it even more likely than even Mark Gurman saying it is the fact that they switched to Type-C on the Siri remote. If they truly believed Lightning had a future, why would they change that? Like, what's the point there? But they did it, and that affects all regions. But, however, we should also consider that by Jaws saying we'll have to comply, that could technically mean bringing USB-C to the iPhone in the European Union, but keeping Lightning elsewhere in the world. They still technically could get away with that. Again, I don't think that's what's gonna happen, but it's possible. So that's why I'm hesitant to use the term confirmed. However, Jaws' reasoning was that there is already 1 billion people with Lightning cables, and they don't want to create a lot of e-waste by making a bunch of people switch to Type-C. So I have many issues with this argument in the first place, but let's just acknowledge the fact that Jaws' reasoning for keeping Lightning was that it's fine, you know, it gets the job done, it works, but that if we change Lightning to something else, that will create e-waste. That should pretty much extinguish the concept that Apple was thinking of going portless, so I just want to preface that in today's video and remind everybody that, hey, Apple could not keep that e-waste argument going if they eventually made a portless iPhone. So based on Jaws' response, who's the chief of marketing for Apple, I genuinely don't think portless was happening anytime in the near-term future. They were probably hoping to, I don't know, wait until every Lightning cable had a 20-watt USB-C brick on the other end, and then maybe start pushing MagSafe a little bit harder, but even with MagSafe, there would still be a ton of e-waste. And my response to Jaws, that I would love to have brought up if I got a chance to interview them, is, can't you easily ship USB-C to Lightning adapters just like you are with every Apple Pencil now? Except, of course, you could make it, you know, female Lightning to male USB-C. Ship that with every new Apple product that comes with a USB-C port. That way, you can easily convert every single Lightning cable out there into a USB-C cable instead of creating more e-waste. But I agreed with the interviewer ultimately saying that it's a bit of a mess that we have a bunch of Apple accessories that use Lightning and a bunch of them using USB-C. But Jaws' argument was that, well, in the past the EU wanted to mandate micro USB, and in the past certain governments wanted us to mandate hearing aid standards that didn't work, so our own engineers were able to come up with a solution that worked. But here's the thing, Jaws, the EU is recommending you use a port that you already are using across a wide selection of your pre-existing products. If getting rid of Lightning is such a bad thing, then why are you comfortable getting rid of it across more and more of the iPad lineup? According to Tim Cook's tweets, it's basically like USB-C is a standard thing in the iPad lineup. He's just pretending the iPad 9 isn't really there because they really want you to get the iPad 10. But the difference here is I do not believe, in my personal opinion, that Apple, nor Samsung, nor Google within the next 5 or 10 years will ever come up with a port that for a phone can do more than USB-C can. Okay, theoretically, there are certain companies that have tested like over 200 watts of power delivery through USB-C ports, and we already have standards suggesting that we can hit 80 gigabits per second with this one port design. So don't be pulling the, well, it's just like micro USB. What if something better comes along? No, something better has come along, and it's not like they're forcing you to adopt a port that you've never put on any of your products. Honestly, Jaws' argument would have held up with the 30-pin connector. You could have said, well, there's a bunch of people already using 30-pin, so I guess we should just keep using 30-pin, right? Because e-waste. No, there's a very easy, very straightforward way to encourage everybody to convert their Lightning cables into Type-C, plus everybody already has a bunch of Type-C cables because of products that you're shipping, Apple. You're the one that's pushed for Type-C so hard across the Mac line and the iPad line. You're encouraging this adoption, but you're just not fully committing to it like you should, because then we could have one standard across all of our Apple devices. One cable could charge everything with the exception of the Apple Apple Watch, but USB-C MagSafe Duo would get the job done there. So I didn't think Jaws's explanation was very good. She also asked why there's no calculator app on the iPad. He said just download a third-party app, which people shouldn't have to pay money for a calculator app with no ads. And also you could use that same argument with the messaging service or the music service, but you love to have those too, right? Certain things should just be built in first party, and that's one of them. A better question, Wall Street Journal, would have been, why doesn't the iPad have optimized battery charging to preserve battery health? And Craig, of course, would have said, who's to say? But that question couldn't be answered by, well, just download a third-party app. But still, hearing Jaws saying we'll have to comply when it comes to USB-C on the iPhone, but they seem to be begrudgingly adopting it, like, yeah, we really shouldn't have to, though. It's not the same thing as the hearing aids. USB-C works, and the interviewer asked him, like, what's so good about Lightning? And he said, well, from the beginning, it's good at charging. That's what it's meant for. Yeah, okay, USB-C is better at charging than Lightning. You're already shipping millions of products with USB-C, and you can easily switch every existing Lightning cable to USB-C. Even if it's a 5-watt adapter on the other end, USB-C can handle that. We know you're capable of selling your little adapters. You're very good at that, Apple. So I think long-term there will be much less e-waste and a lot less complexity by Apple having Type-C across the entire product lineup. So here's hoping Apple just starts supporting it as soon as possible, starting with the iPhone 15. But again, there's still a chance they could just comply for the EU market and keep Lightning in the US for some dumb reason. So don't act like it's quite confirmed yet, but absolutely, it's looking incredibly likely at this point. So with all of the headlines being posted about it everywhere, and Apple doesn't seem to be issuing any statements to journalists saying that that's not true, my guess is it's kind of an open secret at this point. But what do you guys think of the interview? Of course, it was very interesting discussion, and honestly kind of cringy to hear them, you know, dodge so many of the decent questions, but all that good stuff. Let me know your thoughts down below. This is your Alp Sheep here. I'll see you all in the next one.